You got a nice background right there, though. Can I ask you
Hey,
if
thanks, man.
is all of them made by you?
Oh wait, I should. Yeah, so some are like photographs, and that is a painting. But yeah,
Right,
all made by me.
right. I want to ask you, like the painting right at the back, the biggest one. What's like the first thought that comes to your mind when you look at the canvas, look at the colors? What are you gonna do, or you just go with the flow, or let your subconscious drive you?
Yeah, man. I think every time I see it, I see something different, and so I painted this in an extremely meditative way,
Mm-hmm.
and just letting my subconscious drive me. And somehow, just magically, whenever I look at it, it just relates to whatever I'm going through or whatever I'm thinking at that point. So it's a one thing fits all kind. That's kind of why I also have it up in my room.
Right. So is this your room?
Yeah, that's my room.
That's
It's
awesome.
super tiny. Just window, my bed, a light,
Yeah.
the the naval ensign over there.
Oh, nice. But just by looking at a room like that, you could figure it out if it's an Indian room or it's a European architecture. It's super clean though, man. And yeah, you're a clean guy, taking care of things.
Actually, I find like it's quite a messy room, but yeah, you can't see that right now.
I can't. Yeah, it's at a good
It's
angle.
also it's also relative to like what someone finds clean and what they don't, right?
Right, but it's
Like
it's mostly
because
white.
it I think this is coming like from my mom and dad's thing. One being like both my mom and dad are military kids, plus
Yeah.
they went to like convent schools, plus dad was in the navy and stuff like that. So like, and my mom's like a neat freak. So it used to be my dad would sometimes walk into my room and he's like, "Oh, it's not clean," and I'd be like, "No, it is." He'd open a window, put his finger along the top of it, and be like, "See, there's dust."
Yeah.
So
I swear to
yeah,
God. Man, right before this podcast, it's a Saturday, with the kind of
yeah,
work and the daily obligations we have with office and everything, I was barely getting time to clean my room. And today I took out half an hour, just dusted everything up. And I swear to God, when I was younger, I thought like dust is not a big issue, it's just the messier clothes and the wrappers and things like that that needs to be cleaned. But I grew up
yeah,
and I started finding a weird negative inclination, like a repulsion to dust. I can still have messier clothes around and wrappers and things like that because I know I just have to lift them up. They're not going to dirty or
yeah.
infiltrate
They
my
they have a
body.
place that they can go. Like wrappers
Right,
will go in a dustbin, clothes will
right.
go into the laundry or your cupboard, but dust has no place.
It has no place. It's going to
And
settle on top of it and get bigger.
exactly. And the other thing is, I also feel like 80% of dust is just dead skin cells and stuff, so it's kind of disgusting.
Really? From where?
Yeah.
Insects? Trees?
Your own dead skin and stuff like that. So
Hmm. Right.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
hair follicles.
Right. What kind of pisses me off too, like, I have a window right here and I stay on the ground floor of the building. And there's just
Of
cars going
of
right
the
next to
yeah,
and all of the dust, the construction, the guys, some of the guys just coughing. Maybe it comes with the wind,
yeah.
the dogs, the
Yeah.
fur, and all this shit.
And the Delhi pollution, like
Yeah.
that is just one very big thing.
Bro, it's gotten so common. I mean, I've got like a couple of people, we're working across time zones and there are guys in Philippines and everywhere. The first thing somebody asks you is, how's the pollution in Delhi now? I'm like, man.
Yeah. It's world news. It's
Yeah, man.
also actually kind of crazy because like, you know, AQI of about 100 in Delhi is good, whereas AQI of 100 usually is considered as hazardous. So
Right.
we're usually like at 500 or something like that. Sometimes even 900. That
900.
is just
Couple of,
crazy.
couple of years ago, maybe 999, there was no metric
Yeah.
beyond 999. So it was
Beyond
just
999.
topping the bar. It was topping the bar, dude, you
Exactly.
know? Yeah,
Yeah.
man. That's how it is. It's crazy like that. So
If
how's
you
it
don't
right
mind
there?
me asking,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
here it's perfect. But like, if you don't mind me asking, where's Naman, man?
Naman's home. Naman's doing his work, perhaps. He's getting his life together. The new year
Uh,
resolution for him started a bit late, I guess, and he was trying to wake up earlier, work out, and it's just a bit harder, to catch up every time and schedule a podcast. So Naman and I are
true,
also
true, true.
realizing that, because I wanted to experiment with a one-on-one podcast as well, and when I did that, I got a lot of feedback from other people that it's more streamlined, and we're about to have a conversation as from the perspective of a viewer, not the perspective of from a person who's conducting the podcast. That it's more streamlined. We're getting at the topics faster, and there's less of, how do you say,
There's less
hop
chance for miscommunication, I guess, also.
miscommunication and message being lost in translation or interpretation, and less jumping from one topic to another, and it's a little more streamlined, I believe, and I've been trying to practice it as well. So there's a balance between the few we do together. So there's one scheduled tomorrow with Jansher.
Yeah.
We've done one with him already, and
Yeah, 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 I saw.
right,
That was actually a pretty interesting one. I actually kind of like the fact that you jump from topic to topic to topic, and like there's so much that gets covered. Even like, I mean, you never managed to post it, but the conversation that the three of us had last time,
right,
it was a lot of fun, and it really felt like just we're chilling, after
right.
after a very long time.
Right. We went to college together too, man. You, me, Naman. How many
Yeah,
years ago was that?
exactly.
6 years ago?
That's 6 years ago now. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
6 years ago, it ended, man. Like 6 years ago, we were like
Yeah.
finishing. At this point, we were finishing college.
Wow. I swear to God, man. Some part of me still believes maybe it's because we are, not 30 yet, or not in the 30s to 40 range, or whatever it is. I still feel like I'm young,
Yeah,
man. It doesn't feel like, okay, college ended like a couple of years ago. It's been 2 years of work experience, and I'm actually probably thinking about getting a property, moving out of my place, things like that. It just feels like that time wasn't too far away. 5 years, as when you look back at it, doesn't seem that big. But if you see how much has passed in between it, if somebody like Google Photos laid out there in front of me, like this is what you've done in
yeah,
between. You've gone to Nepal, you've done a couple of these long ass treks in Nepal, Annapurna Base
yeah,
Camp and whatnot, and done a Vipassana course, and read so many books, and met so many people, and tried so many things, and figured so many things in XYZ. But you don't kind of remember that, you
yeah.
know?
I think like there's a really weird dichotomy there because when you don't do too much,
Right,
right? Uh, Time seems to last forever, but when you've done so many things, it's just gone by. So it feels like almost no time has passed because you were busy doing things. You weren't conscious of the time passing.
right. It's almost like
So
meditation, right? Like when you sit for meditation, when you're super focused, 1 hour feels like 10 minutes, maybe. But if you're not
exactly.
focused, then if your mind is just like a monkey, wandering here and
Then
there,
it, yeah,
1 minute
almost
seems like,
like torture. You're like, what the fuck am I doing?
when
And
is the
I
alarm
mean,
not
I think
ringing?
you really see it when you want to do something, but you're forced to wait. Let's say like you want to watch a movie and you're downloading it, and you're
Yeah,
forced to wait 2 minutes to watch that movie, and you're just sitting there staring at your screen, watching the progress bar go. It feels like forever.
right. Yeah, dude. That's the weight. And a lot of people, like, they would cut to the chase and get to the results super fast and not enjoy the journey, but the destination to them is more pleasing. And that's what I think social media is also portraying. A lot of people who've achieved things, they post their achievements, but not a lot of people get to know the struggles, the daily hustle. You wake up at 6, you plan your day, and you execute, and the next day is repetition and repetition and perseverance, and the same hustle, the same grind. So I think we're more fixated to the result, but less to the hustle. And it's all in the little things right there, man. Those little tweaks you make, the little goals that you achieve to get to the real
Yeah.
objective. And that's
Yeah,
about it,
I,
man.
I, I I really think it is more about the the process, like every little step that you take in between. Those are actually the things that count. Those are the achievements. Also, like when you do that little tweak, or like how you were talking with I'm forgetting the guy, but the last podcast that you did,
Ranjit,
uh Ranjit, yeah. when Ranjitsa was speaking, it's like he was talking about doing that one extra push-up every day, right? Or something like that.
Right,
And the achievement that you feel over there, I feel is way more than just getting a result,
right,
than just achieving the final goal, maybe.
right. Because I think the way human beings are conditioned and wired, the moment you achieve the goal, or the moment you reach, for example, a destination like Amsterdam, you've seen Amsterdam. The moment then you want to move to France. Then you've seen France. Then you want to move to Portugal
Yeah,
to do some surfing there. So the moment you've done it, the charm and the excitement of that thing and the goal just
thing
vanishes
goes
so
away. Yeah.
swiftly. And then you want
But
to
when
set
when
another
you're
goal.
taking exactly, but when you start to take the steps, when you apply for your visa and you get your visa, that I feel is way more exciting and you feel more fulfilled with that. That oh, I'm going to be able to go to Amsterdam
Right,
and in these little steps, oh, I've bought my ticket now. Those little steps are way more satisfying than reaching
right.
Amsterdam.
Right, the sleepless night, the waiting for your, if I hope my flight is not delayed or canceled, just you can't sleep, it's the first day, it's going to be amazing. Well, speaking of Amsterdam, dude, how is it there? I've been reading a couple of news here and there about there's a night curfew and people are out coming out protesting there. What's up?
uh yeah, man, I think it's just it's very different perspectives. Um to them like in India, if there's a curfew, right, we're kind of conditioned into believing that the curfew is good for everyone and it's for the better good. And we also believe in these concepts. I think we spoke about this earlier as well of the Western culture versus the Eastern culture being where the Eastern culture is more group focused and the Western culture is more individual focused.
Collectivism and individualism, yeah.
Exactly. So we think in on those lines that okay, it'll be good for all of us, and it's for the betterment of the people around us and stuff. Whereas they look at it as curbing of individual freedom and choice, and so
Right.
for them it's like their rights are being violated. Which I mean, I don't really agree with. And even if you have an argument, I think there are more mature ways of dealing with it than just going out on the streets and rioting.
Yeah.
But of course, like a lot of the people that are doing this are also like teenagers and people like that. Let's say like you're living with um your family and you're used to going out at night to meet your friends. Or I mean 16-year-olds when they want to have sex. If you haven't had sex in a year, you're going to start feeling a little bit frustrated with life, and then the frustration has to come out somewhere.
Right.
And this is just like a manifestation of that.
Hmm. So you feel it's like the post result of an extended lockdown and then the coming
Yeah.
of the curfew right after it, when things look a little bright with the vaccine rolling out and the inoculation drive. You're like, damn, right when I felt I'm in
But
the finish line, they asked me to run 5 more kilometers.
yeah. And also like so for example in December they were talking about how in 3 weeks they want to set up vaccination storages and start vaccinating by like the first week of Jan.
Right.
And now they're saying they're not going to start maybe till April.
Hmm.
They're trying to wait and see. They haven't gotten vaccinations from the EU, stuff like that. They haven't even been developing their own thing. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it also feels like something that was supposed to be over is now not over. And it's just extending and extending and extending. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a bit of what do you say? A good thing in the wait is because we don't have like why do you hear my voice back?
I have no idea,
You have
man.
no idea. It's gonna be a little annoying going forward like this. Hmm. But anyway, so I think we don't have the information and we don't have data. Wait a second. I think I'll have to quickly pause it.
Do you want to just do it on Skype? I think we can also record on Skype.
No, 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 no. I'm back on, and it's great. It started recording again, and we're back. So yeah, the point was, I believe there are a lot of people, like, I'm not an anti-vaccine conspirator or somebody who's just outrightly be an rebel for no reason, but there is good evidence to believe that the scientific community has really rushed through a vaccine like this, and I believe in terms of the pandemic hitting and in terms of everything, we were more equipped in terms of just a general boost of immunity for general public, not people with comorbidities or people with older age. And there have been examples like in my neighborhood, the entire both the couple had coronavirus, and they cured themselves by staying indoors and having more vitamin C and more sunlight and general Ayurvedic stuff, right? And their body
Yeah.
developed enough immunity to fight the virus. So I don't think a virus or a vaccine that is prepared to fight the current virus
Hmm.
would be sufficient to fight the virus when it mutates in probably 18 months or 24 months or 5 years down the line, and then we need another vaccine, and then we need another vaccine. And
Yeah. So I
yeah,
I think like it's more important for people like frontline workers, who are every day in contact with the virus,
right.
to have something like this as a line of defense for themselves. It's
Mm,
important for people with comorbidities, things like that. But people like you and me, who anyway are not actually affected by most of the strains of the viruses, as youngsters without comorbidities and stuff, we are we're dealing with it better. Even when we get it, we're very often asymptomatic. Um, we don't really need the vaccine.
right.
Whereas there are people who definitely need it. There's
Yeah.
another thing, like, of course, of how what are the side effects of the vaccine? We don't know. We're not going to know for another 5 years, probably, at
Right,
least.
right. When you think of it, like in
Because
1920s, Bayern is the company. They had cocaine as the an ingredient in cough syrup, and for so many
yeah,
years, people took it, and it did help. Like some part of cocaine really helped with cough, but they didn't have the addictive, the properties of it, where people get hooked to, cough syrup or something like that. The same
yeah,
thing happened during Vietnam War when the scientists said a lot of these soldiers who are fighting at Vietnam are going to miss home, and they're not going to be productively fighting on the front. So let's give them heroin to deal with their depression and just make them feel, one with the guerrilla warfare or one with the environment there, which is so different than American soil. And
yeah,
then they got hooked, when they came back. So we don't have data of like years of clinical trial being done on people, because at the end of the day, it's messenger gene RNA, and RNA and DNA are the only ancestral linkage we have from our forefathers and the people behind them and the people behind them. And if there's something
right.
that is going to attack it and change the protein synthesis mechanism of our RNA and DNA, I think we need a little more time, for at least people like you
Hmm.
and me who don't have
Yeah. I
comorbidities
don't,
in the field. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know have the complete information on how this vaccine is actually working, but as far as I knew, it was only taking um, the RNA of the virus, not mutating our own, to create something in our body. Basically, when you inject the vaccine in, you're injecting the RNA of the COVID-19 virus, and our body's immune system learns how to create antibodies for that, so that
Right.
if we get infected by the actual virus, like, the RNA is not a harmful version of it. So when we get infected by a harmful version of the virus, then our body is able to cope with creating antibodies and fighting it off. I think that was the way it's supposed to be working, not affecting our own RNA, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right, right. So what it's actually doing is it's putting in a dead cell, like a vaccine is
Mhm.
basically dead coronavirus, which is not gonna harm
Right,
us. But without the harmful properties of it, it's exactly an identical virus that they're putting in, which is a placebo virus. And our body is gonna react to it and develop an antibody base to fight that. But it's also
right,
going to stop the synthesis of our RNA to produce, like what the coronavirus does, it attaches to the nucleoid of the cell and multiplies itself because it's a virus. It attaches to the host and multiplies itself to the point
multiplus,
that,
yeah,
so it's going to stop the synthesis of this kind of specific virus, and that's going to change the gene in our RNA to stop the synthesis of this specific
of this
coronavirus.
virus. Okay,
Right. So that's how you stop it. So the body knows, okay, you keep multiplying everything else because your body needs regeneration. You need your hair to grow back, and your body to expand a bit. And every day you sleep
Right.
and you get recovered, and things like that. The same thing what glutamine does to your muscles when you sleep. But how are we sure with not enough clinical trial that it's only going to stop that virus and probably not going to stop your procreation, or maybe your babies are not going to have two heads, your dick's not
Yeah.
going to shrink? I'm just saying, there's so many things that could
Yeah.
happen. And but
Yeah.
there's a very interesting thing actually Naman told me about the other day is a very substandard response to a virus would be your body gets vaccine. That's good. It creates antibodies to fight a virus, but that response is substandard for future viruses, so your body gets into a stage of not internalizing the antibody but getting external support, and then it actually gets a weaker immune
Yeah.
system in the long run. So which is counterproductive too, because then we're actually going back in our evolution, because we're taking
True.
external,
True.
right? Yeah, so I'm kind of
We're
scared of
not
that
really
as well.
becoming stronger.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, that like I feel people like you and me don't even actually really need it. Also,
Mhm.
Indians just generally, like you talked about in the
Yeah.
previous thing as well, like
Right.
we've been living with all sorts of diseases. We have a healthy immune system, and our body knows how to kind of deal with these things. And very often we can just like, we might even, you and me might have had the virus, man.
For sure, I feel
Maybe
like I
we've
had it
had it,
last year.
and yeah, and just been asymptomatic or had like barely any symptoms for a short time and then gotten okay.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of people, like the thing is that I also have a feeling that for the thing of evolution, maybe this is not the right thing to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Yeah.
We should stop supporting our weak. There is an evolutionary thing of survival of the fittest.
Right.
And uh I'm not saying that, we should just kill people off, but but like
That's
we
the
as humans have
Thanos
been
theory. Yeah.
trying to make weak people live longer and longer and longer. And it's kind of now echoing in our politics, in our society, uh where weakness is now looked at as something completely acceptable, whereas 100 years ago somebody weak would not really even be able to have an opinion in in society. Like, it was about progress, it was about strength, it was about power. Now it isn't. Today we're listening even to weak-minded people about certain things, and it's all about how not to it's about maintaining fragility instead of creating anti-fragility. Like meditation, right, is a practice of anti-fragility. It's
Mm.
basically, you sit with yourself and you have all these thoughts, but you don't let them destroy you. You don't let your anxiety get to you. You find a place of calm. You find that moment. You don't let all these thoughts overtake you.
Right.
Whereas now it is like, um, oh, this thing offends me, so you can't say it. And that is a fragile thing. You're saying that I'm fragile, you're hurting me, and I don't want to get stronger. I'm gonna stay this way, but you have to change your ways to support me and to help me in a way.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah. Just listening to that when you said like when somebody says it's my freedom of speech, but you can't talk to me like that. So that's infringement of somebody else's freedom of speech too, in a way, and that's an ironical thing to
exactly.
say. But I feel the real strength would be if there are five people disagreeing to you, and there are only six people there. So you're one against five. So you let all five of them speak what they want to say, and it's only a stupid person who's going to ramble upon the same point again and again. So all of those five are going to say their points and shut up, unless they're
Yeah,
having super high IQs and they could jump from one point to another and really make an entire story and great arguments. Then you're going to
yeah,
get your time, right, when they finish, and then you can smile and always get back to each one of them because you're registering their points, and if there's anything that makes sense, you can answer them back. And that's a
yeah,
place of security and comfort and confidence that you let everyone speak. But if you see the right wing more governments here, not naming any country specifically, they're trying to curb the journalists and people to not speak right before they open their mouth. They're scared that they might
Yeah.
say something that might offend us or get people's backing and overthrow, maybe have a coup. The same way, let's just talk about a country, Myanmar. They're having a
Yeah.
coup. The military, the Tatmadaw, has taken over the civilian government, and the leader of the country, which is Aung San Suu Kyi, if I'm pronouncing the name right, the Nobel Peace winner, is detained. And they have 85% people backing them up. They want the civilian government more than the army. So I think a step like that is more towards, like you said, the weakness and not strength.
Yeah.
Strength comes from a place of security and saying that
Exactly. Yeah.
we
And
will
like you said, being able to listen to people, strength also comes like a point of security is also that yeah, okay, these are my thoughts. But just because these are my thoughts doesn't mean that they're always going to be the perfect thoughts. If I
right,
listen to somebody, I might be able to get even just 1% better in something.
right,
I might get a new point of view which I didn't think about earlier,
yeah.
and I might be able to even grow my own argument. So it's actually a really big skill to listen to opposing views, see their value, see their merit, try to judge for yourself. Yeah, okay, this is what this person is saying. How does it actually work? And then making up your mind.
Right, because when you don't listen to someone, one is what you're doing. My voice keeps. So hope I don't hear my voice back again. Put it on speaker. The thing with this is how I see it is, for example, you don't listen to someone properly. You don't know where they're coming from. You're still investing your time in having a conversation with them. You're not getting to getting in their boots for a second or seeing where they're coming from, in the sense that, okay, I'm I'm not going to get the best from them in any way. Like you said, there's 1% change in perspective that I could get, and that little window of growth right there that you're willing to forgo just to get your point across, because that's more important for you than growth. So you're just
Yeah,
repeating the point that you're super sure of, and you're not giving that person respect. So you're not going to get respect. One, you're going to lose the value of the conversation. Two, and in general, your time is wasted because you're just repeating
yeah,
something that it's very, very important in terms from a growth and evolutionary perspective to really listen as well, because that changes you and motivates you to just be patient, and also uh, it's a little more satisfying. And and I know, and I want to say this to you as well. I've observed that, Arjun, you choose your words rather moderately carefully. You don't frivolously go about rambling, and you've got a calmness when you speak, and that's something that I've found to be of a lot of value in terms of the kind of value it can bring to someone's life. Is because I've realized that when I articulate my issues and my thoughts very clearly to myself first, before I go out in the world and articulate, my thoughts to other people or try to help them out with the issues that they tell me, it's very important to not underestimate or overestimate the situation, but it's very, very important to articulate it clearly the way reality is. And that's also in line with the meditation that we do, also in line with the
right.
authenticity of self, you know and it's very, very, it's got a huge immense value, just being very
Yeah.
clear with where you're heading or what your real situation is, and you can get solutions out of those things.
I think this actually raises a really nice point, and maybe it can allow us to get in deeper to what we're actually talking about. Um, we're talking about insecurities and security. We're talking about things like meditation, spirituality, knowing yourself, strength. But there is one very important thing that I think people miss out, that these insecurities are actually coming from you not respecting yourself and accepting yourself.
Right,
When you're actually insecure about something, you think you're really sure of it,
right,
right? Let's say you're arguing with someone and just rambling on and on and on,
right,
it's actually showing that you're insecure about your own thoughts,
Right.
and it's showing that you want to believe something, but maybe you don't believe it completely. And the point that I'm trying to, maybe I'm not articulating
No,
perfectly. Maybe I am.
I do get what you're saying. The
Yeah,
fact that
but
you were super defensive about your point, that you're not willing for someone else to destroy the opinion that you've upholded for so long, that you're not willing to listen to them completely or let them finish. So the middle of their sentence is where your sentence starts.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had this realization earlier, and also I think life has its ups and downs. So I've been having a lot of ups and downs through the last 5 years or so, and I'm coming back to a point now which is maybe slightly up, hopefully. But I had this realization where I I'm letting a lot of things affect me for no reason, and it is because I'm insecure about what I'm doing. It's also probably because of this line of work that I've chosen, which is completely without security in a way. Like there's no knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. There's no knowing if I can earn enough money to eat my next meal, you know.
Right.
Um, so maybe that has resonated into my psychology in some way, but uh, I've not been accepting myself and unconditionally accepting myself. Because thing is that uh, a lot of times, let's say you say something to yourself that, oh, you're not doing this well and you need to do better, and you're actually being an asshole to yourself, but you don't want to realize that you're being an asshole to yourself.
Right.
When you're an asshole to yourself, you're most likely going to be an asshole to others as well. You're going to see, like, when you see all of your flaws and you constantly keep focusing on that, you're going to start, that's going to be like the lens you look at everything else with as well.
Hmm.
Um, so you're going to end up being an asshole to other people.
Right.
But if you can sit down and be like, you know what, you're being an asshole, you're being an asshole to yourself, accept it, then maybe you can be conscious that, okay, I shouldn't, push myself too hard also sometimes. Growth and all of that is important, but um, when you're doing unsustainable methods of growth, where you're doing, let's say, 10 push-ups today, and you want to be doing 50 tomorrow, and then 150 the next day,
Right.
it's not really realistic. And
Right.
and if you push yourself into doing that, you're harming yourself more.
Right.
And now this is of course like with a physical thing, but I think a lot of people do this mentally too,
Right.
where
Try to
they
chase their
want to,
dreams and sleep for like 6 hours and ultra hard on themselves, which does have value, I believe. But the kind of approach I'd like to talk about is the way I've understood with the. I've been a super harsh person on myself, trying to tick all the boxes on my to-do list and trying to be super productive, all right? And I'd beat myself at the end of the day if there were a couple of boxes unticked, right? So reading 1 hour each day, meditating half an hour, working out for 45 minutes, and speaking to your
yeah,
mother, speaking with care, being friends even with your enemies and XYZ, just the 10
yeah,
commandments of Anshul
right,
Bhandari or Arjun Veer Bhandari. So if I don't uphold them and if I don't live up to them each day, I was being harsh on myself. But then I realized if I'm super acceptable of everything I do as well, that also sets me in a place of complacency. If I'm super harsh on myself, like you said, I'm viewing the world in the same lens, and that's a
yeah,
bad way and a lonely life to live. So
yeah,
the right path would be Madhyam Pantha, like Buddhism says, right? The middle path.
exactly, middle
So
path, yeah,
you understand the yin and yang, you understand you require both. You require being hard on yourself for growth, you
yeah,
require a bit of patting your back and say, all right, man, out of the 10 boxes, I ticked eight. And I'm only human. I
yeah,
have two hands. I don't have four hands. So I can't give more than
yeah,
100% or else I'll burn out. So that's not
yeah.
sustainable. So, and you got to be
and
very
and it's
articulate
okay
with
if I
that.
pick, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's okay if I ticked only 8 boxes today. Tomorrow I'll try to tick 9.
Right.
You know,
Right.
accepting that what you did is what you did, and then being like, yeah, all right, I did this. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to be. an asshole to myself, but I know that I have to try and be better. I always have to try and be better. So I'm going to be better. I'm not going to hope that tomorrow magically I'll be able to do 12 things instead of 10, but I'll
Right.
try to do 9.
Right, and being very realistic about it and
Yeah.
understanding that, man, no matter what you set out a plan for your entire life, there's going to be external circumstances and situations, and corona and a death in the family, or your dog just running away, and just your office calling. You have to just tell
Yeah.
them, my dog ran outside of the house. I would go, I can't attend the call. But the call was super important. But there are set priorities of life as well that you have to cater to. If somebody dies, you can't be just working to it. You're going to feel
Yeah.
really bad when you look back 10 years later that it didn't have time for to go to their funeral. So there are plans that you make, but we have to be aware of the external or surrounding around us that limit and sometimes act as hindrances for our pursuit of those objectives and goals. And we can
Yeah.
just tell ourselves and be very realistic about what the reason for it is. And with clarity of mind and speech, you could have information on why you couldn't achieve the goals of the two boxes that you couldn't, and make those little tweaks, probably try to get more optimized and organized. And that's what human beings can do. And I think there's a lot of learning from that ant story, which tried to go up the hill and fell down, and try to go up the hill and fell down. And that's what human life is all about. You can take a
Yeah.
break, but you can never quit, man. And that's the scary part. Till the end of life, death is going to be the end, and that's the destination we're all going towards. But it's the pursuit and the path that we've all chosen, and you want to be a little proud of yourself each moment. The only way you can do that is just being aware of your thought and where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of security, abundance, or is it coming from a place of insecurity or fear, or a self-deprecating thought? Where I'm not good enough,
Exactly.
man. And
Yeah.
I don't think that really helps productivity in any way. It really
I
doesn't.
think it becomes a negative spiral then when you start being too hard or something like that. You just everything will never be good enough.
Yeah,
And even if tomorrow I do 10, you're like, why the fuck didn't you do 12?
right,
And that's kind of what I'm talking about. That it you have to accept you have to have your goals and you have to have your direction. But and I mean, you have to have things that you hope for, you look forward to. But if you don't succeed always, it's okay.
right.
You can,
This is the
yeah,
toxic culture of ultra productive people, and we love those books, right? Five Habits of Highly Successful People. It's not your habits, it's a proven habits with statistical data and backing that if you follow those and if you have that already, there is a good chance that you're going to be successful. But you don't beat yourself up if you started a tourism related business and corona happened, right? Even with those five effective habits. So you're going to be all
exactly.
having peace of mind and realizing, man, there are situations that you can control, and that's your reaction to life and the speech and food that you put in your body. Not Nobody's going to force shit in your body, right? Nobody's going to
Yeah,
inject you without your permission. Nobody's going to take your peace of mind if you don't let them. Nobody's going to kill you unless you're a bad criminal individual, or unless you're a super rich guy just walking without security and
yeah,
xyz. But there are things that are not in your control, and you got to take that risk in life and move forward and not fixate yourself to the goal or the outcome or the ideal human being that you set out to be, because there are situations not in your control, man. And all you could do is be observe be observant of the mind when it doesn't get what it wants, and how you train it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually a very, very important point. Be observant of your mind. Be mindful to be like, yeah, okay, this is what my instant reaction to this was.
yeah,
This is how it makes me feel.
yeah,
And the thing is that I think we don't want it to be like this, but our our feeling part of our mind kind of is on the driver's seat, and the thinking part is the navigator, right? And um, we end up rationalizing a lot of things. Sometimes you also know that, um, let's say you're at a red light and you have to take a right turn, yeah, But there's this thing, like your feeling mind, it just wants to go straight, so you rationalize it. You rationalize that, yeah, okay, this way I can do this, stuff like that. But that is when both parts of your mind are not actually in communication with each other,
Right. No
because
harmony.
we want to believe that our thinking mind is the ruling factor, where it's just not. So uh we'll always rationalize a behavior pattern or something like that, and that doesn't let us look back onto what we're actually doing, to reflect, see how we feel about it, and then figure out what is the most effective way of dealing with it. Then you can have harmony between these two things, where you're like, yeah, okay, I want to go here, and then maybe this method of doing it is going to help me.
Right.
We get into these set patterns of behavior which worked for us once and then may not be working for us anymore. It's
Right.
actually something also sometimes that comes from trauma. Like um yeah, I don't actually have a example coming to my mind right now, but yeah, it very often with trauma, what happens is that there's something that kind of got you out of there, and then you just stick with it. It's almost like a Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
I wish I could explain this better right now.
No, no, it's I kind of do get it. I'm just saying we need to get out of those repetitive patterns and understand when they cease to be beneficial or help us out of the situation earlier. But we have to realize that if the situation is not the same, and the approach that we were using cannot be used the same way when you make your first million, like 1 lakh. You get
Yeah,
it, but there's a different approach to make the next 10 lakhs, the next 1 CR. You can't be doing the same thing 'cause
exactly.
that got you a bunch of money, but you got to improve it. You got to invest in stocks or do something or have a business now or recurring income. You got to keep changing to the point. Like if you're a CM like Modi, you're a CM of Gujarat, now you're the prime minister. You can't have the same approach of Gujarat smart city when you're running India because there are cultural differences and barriers. So you got to up your game, man. You got to learn
Yeah,
about the cultural differences. You got to
you have to
learn a
keep
little about
leveling up.
leveling
Yeah,
up and level up in the same direction and the same way. I keep running back to the point, man. And for growth, it's very, very important to be very articulate and choosing your words wisely, not just with yourself, but your expression when you're out there in front of people and you let them know your situation or try to articulate them so they understand where you're coming from. It's super, super important. And I found them, this habit of great value. Because if I really say myself, I'm a loser for doing that. No, you're not a loser. There's a reason why you did that at the moment, and the reason was you probably didn't have enough sleep, so your lifestyle issues were wrong. So what you could actually say is, I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't eating right, so I got angry at that person that got me into a fight. So you take full accountability of your action that way. And you don't just say that man was wrong for shouting at me. You should have been a little more peaceful because you control your reaction. Like you said, like you preach always. You could always be peaceful, man. Even if the world is shouting at you, some point they're gonna keep quiet and want to listen to you. That what kind of reaction I have instilled from this man now. You could always be
in
peaceful.
fact, if there's a man shouting at you, and you say silent, he'll probably want to know what's going on in your mind rather than like if you shout back at him.
Right? You just go ahead and hug him, bro. Think about
Yeah,
what's gonna be his reaction. What the fuck is wrong with him? That's not the
yeah,
21st century reaction that I was expecting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But um, yeah, like you said, priorities and values, right?
Right.
Setting these values for yourself, reassessing them, setting your priorities, reassessing them. That's actually an extremely important thing for growth.
Right.
Um, if you like for example, a lot of people will say that, oh, um, parties are just not fun anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's saying that right now, because everybody will value a party because
Yeah.
they want social interaction. But it's just an example that I thought of. Like, I used to really enjoy partying, And over time, as I grew in, I guess, mental ability or something like that, I started to value the way I could use that time in in a way of like bettering myself. I could use that time to read a book instead. I could use that time to exercise instead. I could go to sleep on time, and if I go to sleep on time, I wake up on time. I have a better mood in the morning. My whole day goes better. And when those are the things that you value and you prioritize, parties will just stop being fun.
Yeah, it's a natural progression like that. You don't have to
Yeah,
become the person who hates parties. You have to become the person for whom the parties are not valuable or adding value.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
It's a whole different way of thinking, It's a pivot in the mindset. It's not that you define yourself with the things you don't like. It's you define
Yeah,
yourself with the things you like and all the frivolous things that are stopping you from achievement of that goal that you set for
yeah.
yourself or the version that you want to be.
Will
Ceases.
automatically like yeah, they automatically fall away. They just you
Yeah.
stop enjoying them, you stop valuing them because
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I don't. I mean, yeah, at one point, getting shit faced was a lot of fun. But then waking up the next morning with a terrible headache and not being able to function the whole day is not fun, you know?
Right. Yeah, for
So, yeah,
last night I had like rum with my friend Aniket and we spoke hours, dude. Like I met him. Usually I sleep by 11 a.m. and wake up by max 7, 6:30. I'm not a super early riser or something, but I do like to wake up early and have like more amount of time to get the things that I do. Get like a breathing space right before office. Sit with myself, warm water. I'm
yeah,
not a tea person. Just something warm in the morning. And I realized, man, that there's truth in valuing the next day and preparing for today,
yeah,
saving a bit of time and sleeping on time and just thinking of tomorrow that tomorrow could be different or tomorrow could be better. Tomorrow could, not losing the
yeah,
hope. And I think a lot of people lose hope who indulge in activities which doesn't make the next day better, right? And that's what we've learned in holy books and everywhere, to delay the gratification of today for a betterment of tomorrow, right? To procure a bit of food that we procured while going out of the cave and hunting and saving, so that you save a little portion of food today so that you could have a little portion tomorrow. That delayed gratification is where real growth is. Like, you're not consuming everything like a hedonist today, and you're just not enjoying all the reaps of today. You save a little bit, you enjoy it later. Or if you have abundance, you share it with other people of your community and they want to be closer to you, and you build a community based on a similar culture that you developed of delaying
yeah.
gratification and building community.
Basically, people whose values resonate, they usually end up finding each other.
Right.
Like if you enjoy going for a run at 6 a.m., you start meeting people who also do that, and then you start
Right.
becoming friends. You cheer together, and it reinforces itself.
Right.
Of course, again, reassessing your values is important. Maybe 6 a.m. is no longer the best time to go because there's too much pollution, and then that's
Yeah,
also yeah.
but it's not a
But
bad time to just wake up and meditate. Is there
exactly,
anyway, it's always good to wake up. So you could make a tweak there, but I believe a lot of people are creatures of habit, and the point that breaking the pattern puts them in a very chaotic state of mind, and they're like, "Oh my God, this reassessing doesn't work for me." I'm like, I'm more of a factory worker. Go to the nine, get your bottle cap on the Coke bottle, come home, something
but
like that.
there's actually like I feel what ends up happening is there's a dichotomy that gets created there because as you experience things, right, you start automatically growing. And if you don't reassess that growth, you, for example, if I stick with this thing of taking a run at 6 a.m., after a week of running at 6 a.m., your lungs might start to feel heavy. But as a
Right.
factory worker staying in that pattern, you want to keep doing that, but you don't feel good about doing that.
Right.
and it stops being fun. And that's where these things like depressive tendencies, hopelessness, and those kind of things start coming in, because you're not actually living according to your own
Authentic
values.
self.
Exactly. And you're not accepting, this is the unconditional acceptance that I was talking about. You're not accepting what you're experiencing. You're just going about your day how you would usually go about it.
Right. And then you
And
start to lose hope about things changing
and then
or
you yeah,
opening
and you lose
possibilities.
growth. You
Right.
lose you lose your growth. So because you have grown, but you're not putting it into practice.
Right. I think it's a thing that everybody agrees and says. It could be a cliche as well, but people say uh, growth doesn't happen in comfort zone. It happens outside your
Definitely.
comfort zone, and it happens when you experience things that you've never experienced before. So, for example, growth happens when you take a cold shower because your body adapts to cold shower, and you develop neurons and you develop some resilience to not shiver, to breathe harder, and to control your reaction to the temperature on your body. And you detach yourself. You say, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, this is in reaction happening to me, and let me just observe how my mind, do I dread this feeling, do there's an
Yeah.
aversion to this kind of temperature, and I don't want to be in the cold shower for longer, but you force yourself and tell yourself, there is some value in it. There is the rational mind playing over the autonomous system, which says, put me in warm clothes and ride in a blanket and put the heater on. And, so I think
Yeah.
it is very, very important not always to be that superhuman, but to keep testing ourselves to the point that we're always creating those neural links and reassessing all the understanding we have how the world works, or how
Yeah.
countries function, or people function, or the psychology of people, or why people say like that. It's not like you keep your mind on autopilot all the time, but it's important to know there are things that we don't know that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So what you're talking about, right? Taking cold showers is actually a practice in anti-fragility. What I was talking about earlier. It is you're taking something that is uncomfortable. You take the shower, you're conscious of that uncomfortable feeling, and for the first 10 times, you're probably gonna dread doing it. You just like, what the fuck? But then eventually, that growth that's happening is a growth in the comfort zone, because the 100th time or the 110th time, you're comfortable taking a cold shower.
Right.
And in that way, you've taken away that first anxiety of suddenly feeling cold and freezing up and your muscles clenching, of not being able to breathe and hyperventilating. You're breathing deeper. You're you're finding a way out of that discomfort so that you can be okay.
Right.
And I think it's yeah, if you can approach your life in that way, it's like, yeah, this is uncomfortable, how do I fix it?
Right.
You automatically force yourself to grow.
And like my friend says, in the same scenario, the list of the things that can make you uncomfortable comes shorter and smaller and smaller. And then life becomes so peaceful because you're the person who just loves being in discomfort and uncomfortable situations. And you like being embarrassed or failing, and you just love the hustle so much that nothing can break your will, dude. There's the super
Exactly.
comfortable people who get bowed down in life earlier too, and it's the people who study in the street light, and the people who had one meal to eat a day, or the people who
Yeah.
had no clothes to wear, or no blanket to sleep in winter, or no shelter, when it rained, are the people who come out and say, there's a proletariat rising, dude, and I'm in the front row.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
I think
super
it's
important.
about becoming comfortable with yourself, that I can go into the situation
Right.
and come out ahead.
Right. It's
I've done this. I've already achieved it. I can eat one meal in a day and still succeed.
right. Right. And I
Instead of
think
putting yourself in that box that I need 3 meals a day, otherwise I will not be able to function. Because
right.
over there you're limiting yourself.
Yeah, I think
I
it
mean, it's
also.
not the best example, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
I have an example in terms of somebody who's attained significant amount of financial, accumulation, and who feels
yeah,
okay. I worked 5 years of my life. I've had one CR saved. Okay, I've worked in the corporate. I've slogged my ass and gone through the hierarchy, and done my degrees and shit like that. I've always dreaded to go to office, but that's how things are. And if somebody takes a little amount of risk, and works and gets some money, a lot of people feel go directly in the phase of fear of accumulating and not taking further risk, because there is a chance of waste of time. And those are not the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, because they never stopped taking risks. The moment they made their first million, they went ahead and said, I'm going to keep the same mindset that got me to first million for making my next 10 million. And then the same mindset when I make the 100 million or the 1 billion or the 100 billion, so forth. And the people who get comfortable and come from a place of fear would say, man, is there any point of taking a risk right now when I've had what 50% people don't? That's where you stop, and that's where you realize you're not going in the direction of life itself. You're going anti life. Because no matter what you do, you got to choose some place where you're testing yourself constantly. And that's the pursuit of life. And that's what puts meaning in life. I think for me, I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of people think
you you're
differently.
you're putting yourself in a position when you're doing that of that what you're saying anti-life is you don't want to move away from where you are.
Right.
You just want to stay where you are, but that's not
Never
like
happening.
it, it's never happening. Time is passing, right? So that's also kind of like the trauma that I'm talking about. That when you don't deal with something that made you feel uncomfortable, um, that made you feel discomfort, when you don't deal with it, when you don't, like for example, when you take a cold shower and you're like, oh my god, this is terrible, I can't breathe, I'm feeling cold, you go into shock, switch it off, you turn on the hot water, and then you never take a cold shower again. You have
Right.
this fear then built in your head that I don't want to do this,
Right.
I don't want to do this, and
Right.
I don't want to feel this way. What happens is you're building that fragile mindset that
Yeah.
you feel you can't deal with this situation and you're running away from it.
Right.
And but you can't do that in life. There's going to be pain, there's going to be discomfort. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, there's always going to be that thing.
And I think we
And
have to be
unless you go
willing.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to just go into life and live, right? You can't just hold back and not live life.
Yeah.
So
That's not a very
yeah.
satisfying experience of life. Is life is And some of the cliches are so true. No matter what you say, it's just so true. It is right there, smack dab on your face, and you just say, "Man, everybody keeps saying the same shit, man. Wake up early, do this." Bro, there is truth in that. There is historical, statistical data that the people who've indulged in willfully accepted discomfort in their lives. Nobody wants to sit and read a book, but it puts you in a place of new perspective and new learning. Nobody wants to go for a run, but it gets your body sharper, and and you get a little more productive. And people who use their focus and sit 8 hours on a singular task do achieve some significant amount of success in the direction that they're putting their focus in, like yourself. You've gotten like so good at the things that you do. It's because you willfully put your focus on the task that you decided is going to be my destiny.
I just
Yeah.
want to say here that it is important to be to put yourself in that, but it is also important to be realistic about how much you can handle and not torture yourself.
Right.
You know, like um,
But would you say some people have a higher threshold and some people have a lower threshold? And you need to also be able to put
you have
yourself
to build your
beyond the
threshold,
threshold.
right?
Right,
You have to
right.
build your just so this is what my threshold is. I'm gonna push this much today, and then this much tomorrow, and then not that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know
There can't be a huge gap. There's a 10% growth or there's a 5% growth, but it has to be a compounding growth each day. And the people who can do
exactly.
it for the longest time are the people who succeed. The people who do it for a short amount of time and believe, okay, I'm comfortable now. That's significant amount of growth. Let's just try
Yeah.
doing something else. So you got success here at this level, and then you forget about this direction at all and make a new plan and then do this, and you get success here like 50%, and then you stop here, then you come back here, and then you come back here, and that's a distracted way of going about life.
Yeah. I was actually more talking about the way that, you say you want to go, let's say you set a a goal for yourself that I want to run 5 kilometers every day. Yeah.
Right,
And you haven't been running for 10 years. On the first day, your body is not going to be able to run 5 kilometers. You probably don't have the stamina. You have to start maybe 800 meters, 1 kilometer, something like that, and build it up. What's important when I'm saying is not to torture yourself, is not to try to do and push yourself through to that 5 kilometers on the first day. It's important to compound your thing, and then when you don't achieve the 5 kilometers, it's also important to be like, okay, I'm going to be better, but today I did this much, and that's all right. Not that, oh, I couldn't do 5 kilometers, I'm just shit, I have no stamina, I just can't do this shit and give up. Because
right,
some people will do that as well, and that's not the message that I want to give to people.
right. It's okay to not to fall from grace and to not be able to achieve it as long as you tried. But if you
Yeah,
don't try,
keep
and
trying.
if you don't try, if you don't wear your shoes and at least go to the track and say, okay, I at least reached here.
Yeah,
You're not putting in your 2 cents. I believe it's just the consistency and the 2 cents that you put in. It's not like you have to read 100 pages a day, but you got to be able to sit with a book and have the willingness to at least start somewhere. And a lot of
yeah,
people have
keep
issues
trying.
with just starting out. It's just getting the engine warmed up is the problem. A lot of people say, man, I want all situations perfect. If I'm about to read my 100 pages or just start my book, I want a warm glass of water, a clean room. So I'm going to do everything before reading. I'm going to clean my room first. I'm going to get warm water. I'm going to tell everybody that I'm going to bed and don't disturb me. A lot of people spend
Yeah,
half an hour preparing for the task that they're going to be doing for 15 minutes. So, you know what I'm aiming at,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I've been
It's
that person.
and by the time you get started, you're kind of done. You
Because
spend most of your energy setting up.
right, because there's only enough discipline that you can summon in a day, right?
Exactly. There's so much will that you have for the day. And if you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for a run today, but first, actually, I want to cook some food. I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. I'm gonna,
Right,
find the right shoes. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. By the time that like you actually decide to go for the run, you're tired.
right.
Whereas in
That's
the
so true.
morning when you wake up, you're like, oh, I want to go for a run today. I'm just gonna wear the shoes I have. Gonna wear whatever. I'm gonna go for the run. Just gonna
Right,
do it. That's
right.
that's when it works.
I think I really like Nike's logo and the tagline. Just do it, man.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just
Just
fucking do
just
it.
do it.
Don't
Yeah.
prepare your mind or something. Don't think that, okay, man, I'm gonna think of few things and motivate myself. Listen to Eminem's Lose Yourself before I get in the cold shower. Just take your goddamn clothes off, start breathing a little heavy, and just open the tap, man. Just go
Yeah.
right there. That's what you need to
Exactly.
be doing. It's execution and not theory. It can't be like if you have a revolutionary idea and a pivot chain or a paradigm shift. You can't just
Yeah.
go and make a sandwich right after that. It doesn't work
It's the
like
same
that.
thing. Yeah. It's the same thing with meditation, I think. A lot of people will put on the right music, find a guided meditation, put a candle on, put a incense stick on, do all of that. But those are not the things that make your meditation work. Same
Right,
way, like, with running, you can do all these separate tasks, or cooking food, you can do all these separate tasks and read recipes and stuff like that. But
right,
what actually makes it happen is sitting down or standing up or going for the run,
right.
just doing it.
Just doing it, man. Just sticking to the basics, right? If you want to be a boxer,
Yeah,
you don't have to get a best coach. All you need is goddamn punching bag, and just start punching, throwing punches, okay?
punching. Yeah,
And there's going to be someone, and the level up would be join a boxing club, and then somebody's going to look at you and say, okay, you're doing this wrong, and there'll be a community pool, and people will tell you. So that's a natural progression. But all you need to do is show up each day and get your
yeah,
body into the phase of that it becomes natural behavior or second behavior to you with the repetition and the grind. You got to stick to it, and doesn't matter if you do it perfectly. A lot of people have issues with perfection, which in turn leads to procrastination, and that
yeah.
has happened with me too. I want everything aligned and perfect, and I can't read if my room ain't clean. And yeah, so just do it.
Although, like, I think cleaning up is the best form of procrastination because it gives your mind some space to think. Like a clean environment really gives your mind some space to be able to do the work that you set out to do.
Right.
If you are not, if you don't have like at least some amount of cleanliness and stuff, you probably are going to be sitting there completely distracted, completely lost. You'll be sitting with your book, you'll be reading, your eye will go on the side, there'll be something, you'll fidget with that, and it'll just lead to distraction after distraction after distraction. So
Right.
it is important to have a nice clean space. And I think that's also something that, it's the same as like meditating every day or exercising every day. Cleaning up your room in the morning, get up, make your bed, have something warm, clean up your room a little bit, have a bath. These, if you just put these into your morning thing, you have a good setup for the day already. And everything
Right.
that you want to do, you can just do.
Right. There are things that you can't rush through life, man. And it's one of those things. Some things you got to understand that there's a slow track and there's a fast track. You can't put everything in fast track, right? There's an LHS and an RHS. In the fast track, things in that column can't go in the right column. And those
Yeah,
are brushing your teeth, man, eating the three meals. You can't just be. A lot of people go through life without really remembering what is the majority kind of portion they have of meals, right? And you got to be very aware of the things that you're putting in your mouth and chew properly and things like that. It's also meditative. You could use that time, like you said, clear your mind, declutter, and be a little
yeah,
minimalist like that, and not being the person who has abundance of random things that actually end up taking your time. Because if I have 1,000 clothes and every morning, that's a calculation I did for myself, by the way. So if I have 1,000 clothes, Arjun, and if every
yeah.
morning I take a shower and go think, let me think of what I'm going to wear and spend just 2 minutes, all right, 120 seconds each day thinking about the kind of clothes I'm going to wear. 2 minutes in a day doesn't seem too much. Let's quantify it, right? So 2 minutes in a day for 30 days comes out to be 60 minutes. That's 1 hour each month I spend thinking about the kind of clothes that I'm going to be wearing that month. Quantify it for 1 year. Extrapolating for a year comes out to be 12 hours. That 12 hours comes out to be half a day
A
of
day,
you
yeah.
half a day of you thinking. Let's just say it's not usually 2 minutes, right? It's usually close to 3 or 4 minutes. 2 minutes is very less time. So let's say
A whole day, let's say.
a whole day.
Yeah,
So one day, an entire year, you spend just thinking about what kind of clothes I want to wear each morning. So that's one bad habit and discipline. And imagine in your entire life, Arjun, if you hopefully live up to 100 years, you're spending 100 days. That's 3.5 months of your life that you could be
your
in
life.
Venice or Paris or anywhere else, thinking about the kind of clothes that I'm going to wear on a daily basis. So the things you possess actually end up taking your time. And that's what Steve
Yeah,
Jobs didn't do. And he just wore black t-shirt and jeans every day.
every
Something
day.
every day I just realized
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to my spiritual being or my health or the people around me that whatever the fuck I wear. It's actually even better that people look at me the same way and don't think of me in a different perspective every time.
Yeah.
So black shirt,
And and
jeans.
the, this is kind of the reason actually behind a lot of like when you take priesthood or monkhood, you have a dress code. You have a uniform. Even in the military, you have a uniform
Right,
because it takes away that thing. You're not wasting your time. Oh my god, how am I gonna look? No,
right.
you know what you have to do. Like for me, I've been wearing cargos since 2009, man. I have
Yeah,
like 4 or 5 different cargos. Just wear it, wash it, like wear it again, and whatever's on the top of the shelf is what I'm wearing that day.
right.
It's just that simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Just put it on.
We gotta get these tweaks, man. And I wonder so many things in life that we're not even aware that
And
some tweaks can be made.
it's these micro habits that we have. Like even for example, let's say if you have a soap bottle when you're washing your hands, right? If it's not one of those push down ones and it's something that you open and you pour, something like that, those few seconds also compound. When there's
Right,
just this, you're done.
right.
Or open it up, push it, wash your hands, and then go.
Close it,
And
clean the
these,
bottle. Yeah,
through the day, there's so many of these things that we do.
Wow.
There's just so many of these things that we do, and it all compounds.
Right.
So you really
Right.
have to like optimize. There's this book called Atomic Habits, and he really talks about these things.
I've read the
He talks
book.
about, yeah,
Yeah, it's nice. It's pretty amazing, man. It's a repetition and how habits can ultimately shape your life and the kind of person you become. Not just
yeah.
success, but the entire existence of your life.
What I really liked about the book was it makes you actually think about what, how a habit works, and how you can use that then in your day. You know,
Right. Right.
for example, just if, yeah, I don't know why my mind is drawing a blank right now, but it seems today is the day for my mind to draw a blank.
Right. Right. It's a good thing to draw a blank too, man. That's a space of pondering and growth as well. It's not like we're repeating something that we already know. We're searching for
Yeah,
something that that makes sense in this specific
that makes
context that
sense.
we're trying to make. And I like that part as well, but the brain has to like push further than the threshold as well. And that's why I feel one of the basic things in terms of growth is just having a conversation, man. Just sitting on a goddamn chair and talking to someone and really being there, and and if you look right now, it must be it's 1.5 hour already gone, and it feels like
Oh,
probably
damn.
like a 1 hour conversation, like 10 minutes or 30 minutes at
Yeah,
the max.
it's really felt like it's just 10 minutes. Yeah,
Right. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, right? That when you're super focused, life goes by fast. When you're enjoying life, it feels like, man, I wish I had more. But when you're
yeah.
dreading life, you feel like, whew, why doesn't it end? So I think we need to get the neutrality when we look at suffering and how do we say, what is the opposite of suffering? What's the opposite of suffering?
I would say
Blessing,
comfort.
comfort. So comfort and discomfort, we have to see it from the same lens and say, I'm not going to react positively to positive affirmation the same way I'm not going to react negatively to negative criticism. I'm going
Yeah,
to be
I
open
would
about
actually
it.
want to edit that a little bit. I would say pain and comfort, or discomfort and comfort. You know, in a way, discomfort and pain, these things are important, and they actually really help you grow. I think especially pain, it really helps you grow, it makes you stronger. Whereas
Right,
suffering, I feel, is something that you do to yourself. It's when you relive a moment and you keep feeling that pain and, compounding the pain that you experienced. For example, even if it's just an awkward conversation with a girl you like and it didn't work out, when you spend like hours thinking about it, you start making it bigger in your mind. And that is where suffering kind of comes in.
right,
Whereas if you just be like, okay, I accept this, that's fine, yeah, and then move on from it, you have an ability to let yourself grow.
right.
And yeah, that's,
That makes sense. And I think it has to come from a place of understanding and not ignorance that you read in a book. It has to be like first hand experience. And I know when you say it, you come from a space of personal experience that I've tried this and it felt easier to move on if I just tell myself that it's a willful suffering that I'm imposing myself through on
yeah,
and I'm going through and it's just my choice to let myself believe that there's only learning from this and I can always change the course of my life with just by letting it go but with learning, with
yeah,
taking data and understanding it.
yeah. Like, actually, talking about personal experience and talking about suffering, I had my final viewing for the semester in January, right?
Oh, that's
Just about
nice.
15 days ago,
Right,
and I I was super stressed out. I was just extremely stressed out, and maybe to the point of panicking, super anxious, not being able to maybe even talk coherently to the jury and stuff like that. And I looked back on it after coming home, and I realized that the stress that I'm feeling is the stress that I expected to feel, not the stress of the actual situation. I put myself through something that I didn't need to, because that's kind of what we do when we feel that this thing is going to be like this. Your brain automatically makes you kind of experience that level of stress, whereas very often the actual situation isn't as bad as you make it out to be.
Right,
And just being there, just being observant of what's actually going on can automatically give you that this perspective that I don't need to react this way. I can be calm in the situation.
right. It's a choice.
Yeah,
It can't be an autonomous behavior, and you can always train yourself and see these situations as an opportunity to see how your mind functions and how you could learn from this and take this as an anchor the next time a similar situation arises, and how you turn that situation where an autonomous reaction came and you use your rational self and said, it is my choice to compound my suffering, like you said, or to move on from it and tell myself it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not going to die hungry if I fail from this. But what I can do is not stress about it. That puts my productivity in a good space and I can just do my best. But if I stress
yeah,
about it, I'm going to function at a 90% level. And that actually gives me a better chance of failing than succeeding. So it's counterproductive to actually feel stress. And it's better to, when I have these thoughts flushing through my brain, just sit and observe your mind and see, is there a rational logic behind a thought like that, that it is a necessity for me to suffer and have stress and be anxious, but when all I can do is appear confident and just say, I'm going to give my 100%, and that's all I can do in this human life, man. With
yeah,
all the 26 years behind me and the experience and data and where I've come, I've traveled to another country. I can just give my 100%, and let's see if my 100% can, get me to the shore or not. Or maybe if I drown, I drown. I'll be another
yeah,
motherfucker who drowned. So
yeah.
I don't take too much stress. I personally feel I've enhanced my suffering so much in life, and there's no value to peace of mind, man. There's no money that can buy it, and it's just so subjective, and you can't explain it to someone.
It's priceless. It's priceless.
Right, dude, and it's a constant practice. It's a conscious practice. It's an enlightened practice. It doesn't
Yeah,
come naturally. It doesn't come to the richest people. It doesn't come to the
yeah,
poorest people. It comes to people who value it and who've gone through the phase of depression or who've lost their peace of mind to understand
yeah,
that there are things that they want to define themselves by or live by and uphold, and that's peace of mind and relationships and health and all of that. And yeah, man,
yeah.
it's just a very few things that have to hold very dear to ourselves. It's life isn't too complicated. It gets complicated, but it's your reaction that makes it
We
more
complicate it.
complicated.
Yeah, we
Correct.
complicate it.
We
Life is
complicate it.
simple. Yeah,
Right. Arjun, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, man. It's been one and a
it's
half
been my
hours.
pleasure, man.
Right.
Yeah,
And I hope we're going to be having another and so on podcast. I hope every 3 months or 2 months or something like that.
sure,
Because,
man. I'm in. I'm in. Because
yeah,
it'll be a fun way of documenting our growth
right.
and like documenting our thought patterns.
Right.
Yeah,
5 years later, we're looking back at 26-year-old selves and looking, okay, that's how we talked, right? And then
yeah.
it's good information. We're in 2050, and probably quote unquote grandchildren will be looking back at it and saying, 2020 quarantine. People really thought like that, huh? You've really used the world like that. And that's
Yeah.
probably the mindset of Arjun Veer Bhandari that made him a global artist, right? Made him his art
I
known to the
hope, man.
world.
I fucking hope.
I think you will, man. You already have the right mixture and the ingredients when I look your work behind you, and I know when you come
Thank
with
you.
that, because I've shared my time with you in college as well, and you helped me out get in a dark phase of my life with your words and with your understanding of meditation, and you were in it way before me. And if somebody asked me what do you remember of Arjun, I'd say he's one of those guys who showed me the right path, man, very early without him actually knowing about it. That meditation and just
Thank you, man.
a tool like that is telling you that only you can help yourself and no one else. And I can't thank you enough for that, man. And I hope you remember that time when we were sitting in my car and we were just talking about, right outside
Yeah.
college, and you just tell me that, it's just the mind, man. You gotta silence it somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now I actually think back to it and I think you shouldn't silence it because, you know, it's like a kid. If a kid's making noise, um, and you try to put tape on it, he's just gonna try harder. Whereas if you just sit with it and observe it and listen to it, probably calm down.
Yeah, don't give it attention. Just look at it.
No, give it attention, but not
No,
negative attention. Just
right. Like,
neutral.
don't indulge in the activities that the kid is doing, so that the kid
Yeah,
doesn't really know what's important in general, or what's a thought that, like the same way, what's the most important thought. So when I say no attention, would be a non-judgmental, observant view of everything. Even if
neutral.
neutral, if the kid is eating mud, don't tell it's bad. If the kid is writing a poem, don't say it's good. Just observe what the kid is at the moment, so you know where his trajectory would be in the next
Yeah.
5 years or something like that.
And that's also the thing about being an adult. You're just being a parent to yourself. That's what you have
Yeah.
to do. You have to be your own parent.
Right. And I feel there's a duality in all of us, man, like there's a mentor and there's a learner. Like we've talked about it. There's a person who constantly teaches you, and there's a person who's on the receiving end. So I think it's very important for us to teach, and it's very important for us to listen and learn. And we have to hone both the skills, man. And otherwise, we'll just be a preacher and not a
Yeah.
practitioner.
It's yin and yang, man. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Can't be
it's
too hard on yourself, can't be too slacking, can't be too complacent, can't be, comfort, discomfort. There has to be a balance both ways.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Arjun, it was nice speaking to you,
I
man.
think
Yeah.
I shouldn't take up too much of your time,
No, of course. I
or
mean,
the
we can
viewers. It
ramble on.
probably is boring.
Right. So,
Yeah,
yep, Arjun, we're going to call it an end. It was great speaking to you. Talk to you again, my brother.
man. It was amazing speaking to you. Thanks.
Have a great day ahead, bro.
See you around, man. Yeah,
Take
you
care.
too.
Bye bye.